Hello, my name is Gregory Dirr. I'm a visual artist from South Florida, and I'd like to share with you a video of me participating in an event called Thoughtful Review. Thoughtful Review is held at the Cultural Council for Palm Beach County, and it's sort of like an open critique. Artists come and they share their work. Public are invited to share their opinions and learn about the artist's work, and it is hosted by a guest contributor, and they're different every time. Thoughtful Review is created and emceed by Barbara Ziev, and this time's guest contributor was an artist named Sonya Sanchez Arias, and she's great. It's usually two artists that go. The first artist is my friend Kioti, and unfortunately, I don't have recordings of their critique, but hopefully you'll be able to find it online somewhere in the near future.
It does actually, that's great.
Okay, I'd like to introduce our second artist, Gregory Dirr. Come on up, Gregory.
Hi.
Okay, I'd like to tell you a little bit about Gregory. Gregory Dirr is a visual artist living in South Florida. His works have been shown in solo exhibitions in Florida and abroad. His most involved body of work, The Big Book, has been exhibited since 2008, including the most recent show in 2023. He was awarded the Silver Key for Portfolio by the National Scholastic Art and Writing Alliance in 2004. He received his BFA at Ringling College of Art and Design in 2008. While there, he produced many significant pieces, winning the Best of Core and the Best of Fine Arts awards. His work, Flora, has been chosen for display at the U.S. Embassy in Hong Kong in 2003. Okay, thank you.
So, I'm nowhere near as much of an activist as they are. I consider myself a micro activist, and what I mean by that is like the same type of things that Autumn's talking about, I'm talking about, but it's less of my narrative and more of my process. So, meaning I use recycled materials, I use upcycled materials, I use responsibly sourced materials, especially for big public projects, which pays me a lot of the time. I'm doing these murals, sculptures, fill in the blanks. And a lot of the time, I'm specifically picked for the reason of using, responsibly sourced materials or recycled materials, because they're like, hey, it's kind of like a hot ticket thing now. Everybody wants to, no offense, seem like they care. And, I will be the boy you can use me to seem like you care. So, this work all has to do with what she mentioned, The Big Book. And what The Big Book is, it's a novel that I've been writing technically since childhood, but like seriously writing since around like 2008, where I put pen to paper and went, this is gonna be a novel. And it's very existential. That talks a little bit more about these themes that we share than the physical art may hit you in the face with, where I feel like Autumn's work hits you in the face with. So it's things that I use and have around. So this, for example, I do a lot of art packing. These are my packing materials. I use them. If I have excess, I don't throw them away. I used to be somewhat of a hoarder, and it got to be a problem. So now it's more project basis. So I will think of a thing, I need to get that thing, that's my project. Also, another thing about these are bodies of work where the materials themselves, similar to what you were talking about, cue what I'm going to make. So within the body of the work that is the big book, there will be these sub-bodies of work. So something like this, where I'm making things out of specifically cardboard, where it's more three-dimensional meets two-dimensional. Then there's my tape pieces, and this is just made 100% out of tape. So a bunch of layers of tape, I apply it to a surface, and then I cut away, and it's almost like archaeology. So I'll have like a sheet that tells me where my layers will be, and then I pull up accordingly. This is from the Flora series, and it's on a Lazy Susan. So 3 different recycled materials, 3 different ways of using them, and they're all bodies of work that I keep pushing and pushing and pushing. Different than Autumn's. I don't know, I kind of like the things where I could just get lost in the process and just be dumb, you know, like I'm painting flowers and I just go. It's a lot easier than like, sometimes I feel like my narrative is too much, and I've actually had people get like mad at me for the opposite of where I overly explain, and then they're like, oh, who do you think you are, you're this, that, and the other, and it's not that, all I see is a little girl, you know. So I kind of like skate that of like going back and forth from like super traditional, you don't need to explain it, to super conceptual, if I don't explain it, they're like, what is this, you know? And then these two things, these are prototypes. These are kind of new, and I just wanted to show something that I was working on right now. Eventually these are gonna be bigger and have a lot more going on, but I wanna make these light boxes, and I don't know why, but I do. Maybe if the light was out, you could probably see it better.
You can make that happen.
So this was the first prototype, and originally I have other ones that are just mirrors, and the mirrors work fantastic, but that a lot bigger, takes up a lot more room, but yeah, you get the idea. You know what I mean? And then you can zoom in and go out. Like I said, they're prototypes, so I have a lot of work to do on these specifically. This one's you keep it out for a second, I'm gonna show this one too. This one's a little bit more fantastical. And what I like about it is like what you were saying, the movement. See if I can just, something's a little here.
Yeah.
See what I mean? It's kind of, I haven't really, I'm just scratching the surface on what I could do with this. Maybe bigger panels, maybe different colors, I don't know.
Maybe an entire submersive installation.
Yeah, maybe like
You can live in the car.
150 of these and then
Send people in with their own flashlights.
well, yeah, ask me questions.
Oh, what do you want to be when you grow up?
Yeah. Oh, little kid me, oh my god, he'd be so happy. You have no idea. That's the one thing I'm not worried about. You wanna know my question? My butt? Money.
Yeah,
So what, you got that?
yeah.
I want that, tell me.
But,
Please, I'm ready for it.
so, you know, you dance in between the free form and the assignment work, right?
Definitely.
This is free form, this is you, mad scientist, you, like I say, right? We're the same. Where you're experimenting with materials and your knot work on the materials and the different colors. So even in these new projects, there's bits and pieces of older bodies of work, right? Yes. That you are taking into a new direction, right? So that's wonderful.
Even the knot work is
all the work that you create as an artist are pieces of a puzzle,
yes.
Right? And later on in your life, this gentleman was talking about it, you know, it's important for you to look back, to look what you're working at now, to think about the projects you're doing in the future, and eventually it will all come full circle. It will come all full circle, or you'll just be a totally different artist, you know? Maybe you're making paper flowers or something, I don't know. But once again, I want to step back a bit, and I want to thank you, because I see your work in Boynton Beach, in Palm Beach, and you know, I see your work around. There's murals, there's the drain work that you did, you know, that fabulous sea installation that you did at the park, at the coral, right, made out of recycled plastics. Amazing, right? And I really appreciate your video on how you, because I want to tell everybody here, this is just the tip of the tip. I mean, this guy is like a very accomplished artist, and he's working like crazy, right? You are working all the time, and so you know, that piece I really appreciated. The beginning, how it started, that it took a month, that's really impressive. That's impressive. That you got your whole family involved.
Always.
That's another very big part of my culture. We, Trinidad has one of the largest carnivals outside of Rio's carnival and Italy's carnival. And the weird thing about Carnival is that all these artists come together and they come from all over the world and they make these costumes for 2 days and then they break them down. They some of them might go into museums or whatever, but most of them just get broken down. But the thing of it is that it's community and people get together with food and music and everybody participates in the making. There is the designer, this is what we're making, you're the sequin person, you're the twirler, you're the wire bender, you're the,
Yeah.
And when you work on projects like that, collaborations with the right people, it's very rewarding.
Oh
Very
yeah, we'll
rewarding.
remember it forever.
Not just in the final piece, but in the process.
Oh, that's a huge thing of mine. I don't care about the final piece. My catharsis is the making of
The
it.
process.
Showing it when people love it, it hit or miss, like 1 out of 100 where I'm like, ooh, wow, holy crap. But the rest of the time I'm just like, okay, thanks.
Well, your responsibility as an artist is to create. Your responsibility is not to worry about what people think of it. You don't have control over that. Your responsibility is to use the God-given creative talent that you have and to make something of it, right? I think it's Bob Mowat that says your creativity is God's gift to you and what you do with it is your gift to God. Whoever, if you believe in God or Mother Earth or whatever, it's all, to me, that's a beautiful mantra, right? Because it was given to you and you give back to the world by creating art and connecting with people. But you don't have control over what people think of your work. So it's really important to keep that in mind. As artists, we trip ourselves up with our ego all the time, right? But yeah, the money is important, right?
Yeah.
Because and this is why I go between the commercial world and the other world, because I don't want to have the full responsibility of making my personal art for profit.
Yeah. I
But
feel
the
like
profit
you
comes.
take from
But
it.
the profit comes. If you are an authentic artist, if you are connecting with the right galleries, with the right people to show your work, and there's different kinds of galleries. Some galleries are great for PR. They put your work in front of an audience that would not necessarily know you, or they bring attention to you. Some galleries are very personable. They follow you as an artist. They call you up, Gregory, what are you working on? Do you have anything to show me in your new collection? And they follow you and they promote you, and usually those galleries have clients that would like your art, so they're connecting the dots. So your galleries, where you exhibit, and your art in general, it's all about connections, right? And those galleries are relationships too. But I would think that you are going on cafe, right? You're
All the things.
all the time,
Everything.
right?
The last week, Ashley, that's my partner, we applied to 10 things, 4
Right.
of them were grants.
And some of them
That's
have
1 week.
huge budgets, right? But
Oh yeah, but
but
we're getting-
and not only that, but then by the time you're finished, your concept and the transportation and the materials and
that I don't mind.
a large
So
part
long
of it
as
is
we could just survive.
yes,
you know,
yeah. No, I understand.
It's more of that and less of like, and it's also halfway the ideas, because I have wild ideas
Yeah,
that
I
are far
know.
beyond me that I may never be able to do in my entire life, and that's a little like low-key
Do you
depressing.
journal them?
Oh yeah.
You write
oh, yeah.
them down,
No,
right?
I look at that journal and I get depressed because I'm
yeah.
like, okay,
All right.
great, good, another
Yeah,
thing.
these were
that-
great ideas from 2011
Oh, I'm
or
gonna
2000.
hopefully
yeah.
do as much as I possibly can,
Yes.
but
Well, you will.
we'll see.
Yeah, you will. And it's just going to, the other thing is finding the right collaborations, right? With the right, with the right organizations or other artists that both of you feed off of each other, and you can
Yeah.
elevate, and you can elevate, your vision. Are there galleries that you like to, you have to be a little more specific about the money as far as, are you balancing solo exhibitions, gallery work with commissions?
So I guess what I mean specifically is less having to rely only on commissions.
I gotcha.
So
Yeah.
less public work, because what I'm doing like with the public sphere thing is like, I'm trying to take this and jam it into it.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And making it fit, because that's what I'm getting paid for.
Right.
And I'm gonna make this regardless, so it doesn't really affect it, but I guess it would be to get paid for this solely,
Yeah.
because I've done that game
Yeah.
the whole time. That's the game.
I have to tell you, I've been dancing between corporate assignments and my personal work, and they just, the problem is, once again, is that they have corporate, they don't, they can't understand how creative you are, like, you know, and so you literally have to tone down your creativity to fit the project, right? And, you know, I always say things, and then there are the committees, right? Those are deadly. The committees are deadly, because I always say like a platypus was designed by a committee, you know? Like everybody, oh, we want a beak, we want a duck, we want a beaver, we want a thing. Could you put it all into the project and make it look good, right? So, but I will say this about that kind of work. It makes you a stronger, better artist. And there is a way for you to get through eventually with clients, you know. There is a way to present who you are and what you do and infuse it into their project, you know. But you will always need a plan B.
Oh, of course.
Right.
Yeah, that's
in case the pitch,
I'm a
initial
realist.
pitch doesn't work, right?
I tried. So I'd say the closest was the reef that we're talking about.
Yeah.
But again, okay, let's talk about it.
Yeah, talk about it.
All right.
And I encourage everyone to go on his website and look at his video on the reef, and you'll recognize it if you live in, you know.
So it's an obvious symbol of what we're doing to the earth, right? We're destroying the reefs, right?
Yeah.
You know how many times I've repaired that?
Yeah.
4 times. It's probably broken right now as we speak.
Oh, wow.
I refuse to go there just because I don't want to see it broken again.
Well-
Granted, there's the money thing, I get paid, right? But this is what happens where you marry the two, the conceptual
Yes.
and the paying thing. I don't want to get paid to repair it anymore. I want it to just sit there pristine. Do you see the dilemma?
Yeah, so no, I understand. And you have the same problem with some of your,
All of it,
your
every single one
animals,
of it.
the animals,
Every
right?
single
You're
one.
supposed to-
Yeah, same thing. And I'm having an issue with a Fort Lauderdale one, but
Yeah.
we're just gonna pretend like that's not happening.
But I think as an assemblage artist, one of the biggest challenges too is the materials we use to build things and how, right? Like how.
Humans will destroy it. They'll figure out a
And
way.
they'll figure out a way
Yeah.
to like break and pull things off, and oh, it broke and all this kind of stuff.
Well, that's the beauty of it. Like if because I have some family members who live in Europe, and they say this, they're like, if this was in my like Centrum, which is the train station of their town, it could be there for 100 years, nobody would touch it.
Right.
People take pictures in front of it, nobody would
Yeah.
touch it.
Yeah.
So it's a systemic problem.
Yeah.
It's the reason why that sculpture's there. Do you
Well,
know what I
yeah.
mean
Yes.
by that?
yes,
So
Yeah.
it is what it is.
Yes.
You know, it's they want to build it and then put it in a glass container.
Yeah.
Well, no, you can't because the glass would break. You'd have to
Yeah,
put it in a plastic
exactly,
container.
yeah.
The plastic would have to
And
break
if you
this
paint a
thing.
mural, somebody's gonna come along and tag it.
Oh, that happens
Yeah,
too. Yeah.
and,
But that's actually less strange enough, right?
Yes.
Because I feel like that's
It's expected.
an unspoken like honor system with
Yes.
graffiti artists.
Yeah.
People give them that. They always think it's going to be something like that. Oh, please graffiti-proof the sculpture.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, I just, I mean, you know, my process is a little bit different from you, but I totally understand the world you're in, and I don't really, you know, have other advice for you than, you know, it's like anything. It's like finding the right partner. You know, it's you know, finding the right wife or husband or whoever. You know, sometimes it's a process. You gotta go. You know, but I have clients that have been with me for 14 years and 21 years. Like when you find the right client, and they believe in you and they understand what it is you're giving them is far more than they could ever pay you for. Though they pay you well, but they understand that. That's a beautiful thing, you know. So I will just encourage you to keep to keep looking, keep entering. You know, you do a public installation, and you are never, you never know who's going to be looking at it. It's no different than putting out an image on Instagram. Some of my biggest clients have come from Instagram. How did that happen? The person I did the project for shared it on their Instagram and tagged me. Always ask people to tag your work. It's so important, because now you're tapping into communities that are beyond your scope, you know, that it goes into, so you never know. I mean, some of my biggest projects, like I said, I saw your work on Instagram, and if you're doing work for such and such a company and they trust you, you know, we know we can trust you. And that's the other thing I do, is that I collect everything I see on Instagram or on social media where somebody important, or even not important, I mean just important comments about your work, I save it and I put it into on my website as testimonials, right? Testimonials are huge. When clients are calling, corporate clients are calling to qualify me, like I say, and I sense there's a little bit, it's a huge project, lots of money, and we don't know, I tell them, call my clients.
Yeah.
Call. Word of mouth is better than anything else. You're calling big corporate clients, and first I call them and I ask if it's okay that I give your number to someone who's interested in doing my work. Oh gosh, yeah, sure, you know. That's huge.
We have a question back here.
Yeah.
Hey, Gregory.
Right.
So, I mean, obviously, you know I love your work, because I've told you that to your face repeatedly, and your craftsmanship and your style and everything. I'm like perusing your website. There's a lot here, and so I'm curious your thoughts on, like, it seems that you're dreamy, like, the work that feeds you, right, nourishes you, and then the commercial work and then the public work. Have you ever thought about separating those on your website, or having, you know, like a more curated, like very tightly curated presence online, as opposed to like having, like, trust me, I get it, like having all of it available to see online?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, originally when I made that site, that's what it was. It was supposed to be that super crisp portfolio, and then every situation that I would get into, they'd be like, well, what happened to this thing? Can I see more of those? And I have like 13 of those. So everything eventually with me becomes an archive. My house, my brother's houses. That's what it is. Don't put me in a place for too long. There'll be little piles of my things all over, you know. I don't know. But yeah, I wish.
I would add to that, because I'm the opposite. I have 3 Instagrams, 3 websites, 3 Facebook pages, 3, like it's and to come, because I don't combine my commercial work and my fine art work. I don't combine
Right,
the
yeah,
two.
you keep them separate, that's what I'm.
Right, but then your commercial clients are not aware of all the other
Exactly, we're
things
circling
that
back
you're
around
doing.
to this money.
And so it doesn't work to my advantage.
Right.
I'm actually thinking of combining them, you know.
I'm not in a great situation. So we'll just say it that way, and opportunities, as much as I could possibly get in this thing, wherever it's over there, that's how I get all my opportunities. If I could do it quick, and there's also been times where if I didn't show them within that 5-minute period, they're just like, get out of here. You know what I mean? It's very, especially in the private sector, ugh, forget about it. That is my big advice whenever I talk to any younger artist. Do not poo-poo on the government jobs or jobs for institutions, because they are lifesavers. They will, yeah. But yeah, the private sector, if I'm not showing them and I'm impressing them, I've actually done live art at the thing, and they were mad that I wasn't the guy with the hat who would dance and stuff, because they expected that, and I was like, how would you ever expect that? I paint you. There's a famous guy, I forget his name, I follow him, but he does like flips and he turns it, it's Bruce Lee, you know?
Yeah, oh, yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
I love that stuff. It's like a whole thing, breakdances, if only.
Yeah, and it comes back to the conversation we were having earlier. It's really so important as an artist to be descriptive. And I agree with you. I mean, there are times I'm too descriptive, and people are like, "Oh, I don't believe that." And I said, "Well, you don't have to.
Yeah.
You don't even have to look at the work if you don't want to."
And then there are times that
But
it's sold
I-
a piece, you
yeah,
know, so it's like, how do you
But
put it?
I need to say how I feel about this piece, and I need to say why I use the materials I use. I mean, something like that, oh, it's just a girdle, and that's layers of tape, please. Like, you know, people need to know that. That's the other thing that I'm very particular about as an assemblage artist, is that people, because like some people here have seen some of my dresses and stuff. When I use garbage bags, if I tell you I'm making a haute couture dress out of garbage bags and straws, you have an idea in your head of what that looks like. But when you see it, those materials are completely transformed. You're transforming materials. And so people are looking at your art and they don't even know what it's made of,
Yeah.
because it's completely transformed, those materials. So it's very important, and I think it adds value to the piece when people realize, oh my God, that's tape, or that's cardboard, or that's, personally, I think that makes a big difference with my collectors.
Yeah, I agree. I feel
Yeah.
like what we're all doing is we're taking these garbage items and we're elevating them, and what we're really speaking about is the intrinsic value of things on this planet.
Yeah.
And like, let's say hypothetically you take a dollar bill, and this is always my argument. You're the most famous artist in the world, and you go on the dollar bill for 2 seconds, you put that in a frame, put it in a gallery, it's not a dollar anymore.
No.
Do you know what I mean?
Yes,
So
I know.
that's the stuff that really gets me going.
Yeah,
when
that's
it
the
comes
whole,
to
yeah,
this,
that's the
you
whole
know.
Picasso argument, where it took me 30 years to be able to do that.
Yeah, no, and that's
2
real,
seconds.
that's a true thing.
And that's the other thing about contemporary art, people will see a line on a wall and they'll say, well, I could do that. And I look at them and I say, yeah, but you didn't.
No.
You didn't do it, he did it, and he
You know,
put it up
the
on the
erased
wall and he's
cooking-
selling it for $10,000, so,
Yeah.
that conversation's just ended. So, it's a tough, art is, as an artist, you're not paid for your labor, you're paid for your vision,
Yeah.
right? You're paid for your message, you're paid for, your personality that you're putting in the art. I think, our egos are our worst enemies. We trip ourselves up all the time thinking that it has to be this way, or comparing ourselves to other artists. Oh no, don't do it, don't do that. I always tell people, every single one of us is, well, I say this, you are unique like everyone else, right? Which is kind of, right? Because she's unique,
It's
I'm
true, though.
unique, right?
Yeah.
So you're unique, but we all are unique.
Mhm.
And what do you have to say? And who are you? Who is Gregory Dirr? And what do you have to say? And why, why is your process important? Once again, I feel, this is my personal experience, that the narrative, like why you're making what you're making, is important, especially if you're using recycled materials. Not that you're just using recycled materials, but what does cardboard mean to you? Like as an artist, why did you choose cardboard as opposed to gatorboard or some other thing? Like why did you use that? All of these, and when you look up the meanings of things, there are all these symbolic meanings that trigger something else, in your process. If that makes sense?
Oh yeah,
Makes sense to
totally.
you?
You're like cueing yourself on things you didn't know you knew yet.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
It's cool.
And I think we're always a work in progress. I don't think, in this life and the next, right? I bucket list, I have like 10 of them, right? That things I'm gonna do in all my next lives, whenever, where that is. But in the meantime, I don't guilt trip myself. I don't, I don't torture myself. It's really important to find balance as an artist, which is something I've only recently discovered because I'm a workaholic. And this guy here is helping me to like calm down. I mean, I would literally be working and he would come and wheel my chair out of the studio and into the kitchen. You know, and I just like sit there and that's his message, eat something, you know? You know what I'm saying, right? But to find balance in what brings you joy and whether you put that into your work, right? To find balance that you're not manic all the time and you're always, you know, the more you worry about the bills, the more of that you get.
I agree.
I feel like we are, as artists, we are manifestors, powerful manifestors. So even sometimes when I create something that has a dark topic, I feel like I manifest some of that into my life sometimes.
That's true.
So I try now to, even if it's a dark topic that I'm talking about, to show the light at the end of the tunnel, to put something positive in there so it doesn't leave you feeling depressed.
Yeah.
Do you know?
No, yeah.
Does that make sense?
We have another question back here.
Yes.
Hi.
Hi. I would like to know I love this prototypes. I don't know what you are envisioning, but you said you are still in it.
So, what they are, the not work is in my story, there is this concept of evil. And it's kind of like, there's a word for it in old plays where the audience is aware of something that the characters aren't. So that's our visual representation of this evil presence taking things over, right? But the characters can't see it. We see it through this not work. So the idea behind these is to shroud the environment in the not work, so you're walking into this evil space. And what I like about it is that they're beautiful. You know, you see it and you go, oh, they're beautiful knots. I love it. I've actually had people who bought my not work and I told them what it was and they're like, no, I don't want it to mean that. And I'm like, I'm sorry, that's what it means.
But just to say exactly that, because you're based on evil, but yet you're projecting light. You're projecting light. There's light. There's
It's everything.
everything.
You can't
And
help it. It's on you.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
The solo show, there was one that was moss, so it looked like it was coming like it from the moss, and that's kind of my
Yep.
way of thinking with this. Is how do I make it so it's not a shroud or a skin that's on something? How is it a part of the thing? And that's a weird thing I'm playing with. And also, I just want to do more installations, you know?
Yeah.
And I want to push the boundaries, like I said, between 2D and 3D outside of just objects and artifacts and painting with light, scents, tactile stuff, all this, because, you know, why not?
And to put all of that into a solo exhibition would be marvelous with all the touch and the light and the movement and the, And that,
I'm sorry.
it's okay. And that's what will, once again, like I say, it's those moments of full circle where you can look at a body of work and you can see the beginning where you started and where you are now, and it's all inside of that one collection or body of work. All those things you learned as a student, all those previous exhibitions or techniques that you learned, and there are ways to bring it all together around one theme or one word, or that's super important.
Did you- I'm sorry, did you call it, what are you calling this, not
work.
Not work?
Yeah, so when I was younger, I was obsessed with illuminations and manuscripts and Celtic knot work and all that. It was just the coolest thing in the world to me. So I learned how to do it, like through the books, like how to draw Celtic knots. And
Right.
they were very traditional at one point where they were to the T, I'm copying Celtic knots.
Right.
Then eventually I did graffiti for like 16 years, so they were very angular with arrows at the end, of course, and they would spell my name and whatnot. And then I went from the angular thing to a more perfect curve where they were this even thickness, and now they're at this point where it's more like I'm kind of liking it. It's more like calligraphy or
Right.
like smoke, if you will. I feel like because of the fact that the line wavers a little bit, my imagination sees it more as like a real
Yeah,
force
because
as
it's a
opposed to
gesture.
Organic.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they evolved
Thank you.
as the years go by, but they were very traditional at one point.
Any other questions?
Have you shown your work at Young and Art Museum?
No, but I want to. I need to
feel
hit
like
them
you
up. Yeah.
Be a great fit for their, I don't know how to do that.
What is it called?
Young at
How to get you in there.
Art. Young at Art. There's an abbreviation, right? Or
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, Young at Art.
Yeah, yes.
Robert.
Yeah, it's Broward.
That's from the government, right?
Yeah, it's a.
That's the guy I should have used for the grant. Oh wow.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
You had referenced earlier at the beginning, you had, and I don't know your work very well, but I'm intrigued. And you had referenced the big book,
Yes.
and could you describe what that means to you and what sort of it symbolizes?
So
Or symbolizes?
I have a lot of like historical and religious references, and not just I was raised Catholic, not just Christianity, but you know all the world religions. Because as Catholics do, you go down the road where you're like, I'm gonna look at everything else because this isn't right. No offense.
You're a recovering Roman Catholic.
I appreciate it now differently than I did when I was crazy punk Greg in high school. That was a
That's a nice story.
different Greg. But the big book, that's what we call it in joke. But also the big book is an AA thing, and I talk a lot about substance abuse and people's obsession and hyperfixation with things. So the dredge is what I call this. A lot of the cultures or people that get taken over by the dredge are hyperfixated on things. So it could be gold, it could be whatever. It doesn't always have to be the go-to addiction things, right? So I liked it as a nod to, you know, the Bible and the AA thing.
And do you feel that today that represents something inside you while you create, that you always draw source from, of inspiration from, but do you think about that? Or is, because it was referenced, that's why I just kept thinking, perhaps, and could be reading into that everything that's coming in front of you, like your next thing is going to come from that source, or is that?
Oh yeah, all my passion work that isn't a commission thing, all of it has to do with the big book. Even the floral things, that's just studies for this intense flora, because the flora is a living thing, as we talk about, but in my book it is personified. It's an actual thing, like moves around, feels things, bleeds. The clouds are things, everything is a thing.
So is your big book chapters of,
Yes.
right? It's
And every
chapters.
chapter is a diary format from a different character's perspective, and that's like a hint at here's mine, the truth, you know?
Is the book finished, or
No,
are you
very
adding
not
chapters?
finished.
Okay,
So
that's
where
what
I'm at
was
right
like.
now, it's outlined.
Yes.
I have a lot of things about characters, I have a lot of key points. I know all the key points, I can
Right.
tell you from beginning to end everything that happens,
Yeah.
but the big part of it, that's not done. Cause I can't just, what is it,
It's a
book full of like, this happened, it would be like a Cliff Notes book, you know what I mean?
Yes.
You could be like Charles Dickens and do a little pamphlet every month or something like that with a picture
Yeah.
and put it out on Amazon or something like that and sell it, and just like somebody's gonna be like, holy crap, what is this thing? And
Yes.
I mean, what the heck?
Definitely at least some of the short stories, because within it there are short stories,
Yeah.
so I could definitely do that.
Or zines, I mean,
Zines,
zines,
yeah.
then you can, you know, I mean,
Yeah.
you would have to decide what, you know,
Yeah.
can go into a zine.
But
I'm just thinking, you
being a
know.
multidisciplinary artist, right? A lot, you know, as a multidisciplinary artist, we have that thing where people won't understand us because we're all over the place, and they look at us and they, you know, are you, photographer, are you a painter, are you, like, all of that, right? But it's really not a crutch, it's really a superpower,
Oh,
right?
yeah,
Because you
totally.
can transition into multiple areas of art. The challenge is, especially in the corporate world, is to get them to hone in on whatever that one discipline or that combination of a few of them is going to be for that project.
Yeah. Oh, that's the thing I've heard a lot, is like, the term you're pigeonholing yourself by doing all of these different things, and then it's like, oh, now you're a writer, on top of that, which I do agree. Like, I definitely need to at least get something out there, because like I can't just approach a publisher being like, hey, I'm the art boy, or maybe I don't know, honestly.
Well, a book is always, listen, and the cool thing about books right now is that you can self-publish one book.
Yeah.
And that book becomes your portfolio, or you put that online and you don't have to spend a penny unless somebody buys it, and you can publish another one. So, if you're doing a big book, you should really have a big book. A coffee table book or a smaller book or whatever for people. One of the other things is that you have clients that have different amounts of money, but they want a piece of your art. And so, I don't know, I haven't, if you have art priced in more affordable pieces or more expensive pieces, or how you deal with that as far as your collectors or people who want to collect your work. Is that something that you
I fluctuate everything. I do not have a set price for a thing. I have what I believe that it's worth, but it rarely ever sells for that.
Right.
I'd say like 1% of the time.
Have you ever been in a gallery where they set the prices?
Yes.
Yeah,
And
and
they just couldn't sell it.
yeah, okay, yeah.
But I've also been in ones where they could, and then
Right.
it was like a 60-40 split, and I made
Yeah.
like $100.
Yeah.
But as much as I say that, it's not like a thing that I like go home and cry about. It's just something that gets me up in the morning and makes me work. And I want it to do this, because Fantasyland, let's really talk about what I want to be when I grow up.
Yes.
I'd like to have a studio, and I'd like to have a studio that is truly philanthropic. Not gatekeeping, not you have to apply, not you have to do X, Y, Z, not that. You come. You want to work in the studio? Sure, if I'm there, you can go nuts. A true studio,
Yeah.
which you need money to do stuff.
Yeah, sure.
That's fantasy, right? That has nothing to do with these things that realistically are going to happen. As much as I kid around, I'll get to it. Don't worry.
Well, don't dismiss your fantasies, right?
I think it's
Because
realistic,
yeah.
but you need that thing.
Yes.
And also, that's another thing. I refuse to do it through grants or how most people get their money, because then you have to answer to someone.
Oh,
When
yes.
I have to answer to someone, I can't just say, hey, come in free. I have to produce.
Yes.
You understand? I want it to be truly philanthropic.
Yes.
To the point of, you can leave, you can come, you can go. Are you going to be an artist in 10 years? I don't care.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, fantasy.
Well, I wouldn't say it's fantasy. I would just say it's, when you're a kid, what do you want to be?
I guess I'm fine, The studio thing is an adult thing. That's like living in the world that we're living in
I'm
now.
just saying, you can manifest it, you can plan for it, and don't dismiss it as a fantasy. And we have goals that we never think we'd attain, and with a plan, or you can really manifest things, and the right people come to you at the right time, or the right. Like you said, you don't want an investment, but there are people that will invest and let you, do your own thing.
Yeah, I think if I can garner some type of thing
Yes,
with this,
yes.
then maybe, but
Yes.
not this Greg.
Yes,
Yeah.
that way. Okay,
Yeah.
I gotcha. I hear you. I hear you.
Thank you so very much.
I'd like to thank everyone that came out to participate in this event and give me some very good feedback. I'd also love to thank, of course, the Cultural Council for Palm Beach County, and Barbara, and Sonya, and Autumn, and of course Jessica Ransom for everything she does and always providing great opportunities for all of the artists in Palm Beach County. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it.